All right, guys. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Cinemaholics. I am Ryan Gordon, and I am a Cinemaholic.
What's up, everybody? My name is Spencer Henderson, and I'm also a cinemaholic.
Awesome. We have a packed show lined up today. I'm sorry, I'm still adjusting my camera and stuff, but we were running a little bit behind. We're excited. We're going to have maybe a longer episode today because we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of good things coming up. As always, we're going to start off with our watch list. Then we're going to go into the wide release movies for this weekend. Um, I don't think we have anything. We did launch a podcast on iTunes this weekend. So after we broadcast, we're going to go ahead and put a link to that in the description. If you would like to listen to this later, just as you're driving or whatnot, that is now an option. I'm super excited. I'm using my new Rode microphone that I bought just for this occasion. So go ahead and hop in the comments and tell me how lovely my voice sounds today. But to kick off, let's go ahead and Spencer, what's on your watch list? What have you been watching?
So, the first thing I'm going to start off by saying is I watched episode three of The Walking Dead. We talked about this. No, it was episode 4. I take it back. This is episode 4 that I just watched. I'm done. I'm not going to watch The Walking Dead anymore. This is officially it with me and The Walking Dead. I'm separating myself 100%. And that's it on my watch list, everybody. No score. Ryan,
Awesome.
what have you been watching this week?
Glad we got that out of the way. my,
Yep,
my watch,
never again will I be talking about this, people.
you know,
Enjoy it while it lasted.
I'll give my thoughts just really quick on The Walking Dead. I've watched maybe one or two episodes here and there, but I get the sense that 90% of it is filler, and then 10% is something that's going to keep you coming back for the next 4 episodes until you get to something good again.
Yeah, so basically it's just like this cycle, kind of like I talked about last week about the abusive spouse. It's exactly what it feels like watching The Walking Dead. So that's all I'm going to say about it as well. Let's just move on from it forever.
Okay, awesome. Moving on. I have an interesting watch list. Sorry, this week. The first thing is actually it's not a movie. My first two are actually not movies or TV shows. The first one is Beautiful, the Carole King musical. I have season tickets to our local Broadway show house up here in Salt Lake, and Beautiful is the traveling Broadway show that came. It's showing this week. I got to see it Wednesday, and I actually went into it not knowing much. I didn't even really know who Carole King was, so it was exciting, and it swept me away. It was a great musical, some fun, catchy music. It's very empowering for women. It's got a strong female lead, and you go through, and it's got all these songs that Carole King wrote to describe her life. And you sit back and you listen to some of them, and you're like, "Oh, I know that song. Okay." And it was really fun. So just that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a rating of a 6.5 out of 10. It's kind of a rough one because are you judging it on the source material, like on the script and stuff, or are you judging it on the specific performance that you see? I hadn't heard of the material before, so my score is kind of the whole experience in general. First being introduced to the script and the music of Beautiful, as well as the company, the Broadway traveling was amazing. So we'll give them that. If you like musicals, go ahead and download the album. Really catchy music. If it comes near you or you can get a chance to see it, I'd suggest that. Next up on my watch list is, I'm gonna have to scoot my camera over a little bit. Two books. I recently just finished reading Bloodlines, which is a Star Wars book written by Claudia Gray. I've really gotten into the new Star Wars books, all of the canon ones, and I've kind of been doing it in anticipation for Rogue One and Episode 8 coming up. So I just started reading Catalyst, which is like the precursor to Rogue One, and it's amazing. These two books were both written by Claudia Gray. Lost Stars is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, I loved that book, and Bloodline was just as good. It's leading up from episode 6 to 7, and it follows Leia, and it kind of explains more about how the First Order came to be. Spencer, you're nodding your head. Have you read these? What are your thoughts on any of the Star Wars books? Or
I have not. I was just so interested. I love Star Wars. I'm a huge fan. Super pumped for Rogue One.
I would
Pumped.
definitely suggest start reading Catalyst. It's amazing. It talks about, it's following Jyn Erso's parents, and so it's the whole leading up, like 30 pages into it, Jyn is born, and so you start following, and you find out how the Death Star starts being built. It's really, before Lucasfilm was bought out by Disney, I was very against all of this stuff because it got so muddy, and it's like, oh, is this canon? Is this just Elseworld? Is this what's going on? But now that Lucasfilm has been bought out and Disney's in charge, and you've got Pablo Hidalgo running things, like telling you what's canon, what's not canon, and everything coming out from here on out is canon, it's gotten a lot less muddled. And I would definitely suggest the books because it's nothing important necessarily. Like, you could still watch the films and get what you need to get out of them, but it enhances the experience, and you're going to start seeing stuff in the movies and like, oh, okay, I get that. So I don't read on personally. I listen to audiobooks. So I just download it, and when I'm driving, if I don't have a podcast, I'll just plug it in and listen to it. So I would definitely suggest that. The audiobooks for these things are super cool because they get really talented people. Sometimes there's the Ahsoka novel that just came out that they had the actual like Rebels character playing the voice of that. So they get voice actors, and they put the John Williams score throughout it. So it's kind of an immersive experience. I'm giving both of these books by Claudia Gray a 9 out of 10. Definitely suggest it.
Real quickly, can I just add something? Everybody share this to your intellectual friends now, because Cinemaholics now reviews books as well.
Bam.
That's all I have to say.
Bam. All right. Last one on my watch list. Just quick. I'm only like 6 episodes into it. I think we're going to have to do a specific show about this because I know you love it. You recommended it to me. I love it. The Silicon Valley is awesome, and I need to just tank through it. Like I said, I'm 6 episodes in, so I don't really want to score it, but it's up there. It's awesome.
Have you gotten to the Vision Quest scene yet?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I was going to say explain it to me, but that's probably...
It has to do with mushrooms in a bathroom.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. So good.
So
okay.
I love TJ Miller, and that was, besides you like recommending it to me, that was the biggest sale of me starting into this. You met him, right?
Yeah. Funny story. He came into actually the theater that we both worked at one time. He left his wallet. Pretty crazy. Man. Yep.
Yeah, he's awesome. This show is it's just fun. So I definitely say throw it out there to start watching it, because we'll have a show about it soon, and we'll definitely talk in depth about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start into, do you have anything else you want to say before we get into the opening this week?
No, sir.
Okay. So opening this week, we've got Bleed for This, Edge of 17, and Fantastic Beasts. First off, we're going to go with Bleed for This. And I was in charge of this one, and I was supposed to have it all pulled up and ready to go.
I do have it pulled up. I can read it.
Okay. So, you'll read the synopsis.
So Bleed for This tells the inspirational story of world champion boxer Vinny Pazienza, who, after a near fatal car crash, which left him not knowing if he'd ever walk again, made one of sport's most incredible comebacks. Ryan, what did you think of Bleed for This?
I'm still debating what I thought of this. I was let down. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Miles Teller was awesome. Great performance from him. I felt like this was his movie after Whiplash, that he was like, okay, give J.K. Simmons his Oscar. Now look at me. Like, I want to be in the running. So I feel like it's got that going for it. Aaron Eckhart was my favorite part of this movie because I remember going into it. I looked it up and I was like, oh, I just saw him in Sully. You know, I'm excited to see. He's great. What's he gonna do? I didn't even recognize who he was until he had been on screen for like 3 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh. So he's brilliant. Um, I will say that I'm a little fatigued of boxing movies. I feel like we've had a lot lately, and they're just kind of like they're following the same formula because it's an underdog story, um, coming back from a tragic accident. It had flavors of Creed. It had flavors of Southpaw, Hands of Stone, which was actually really cool. I had just seen Hands of Stone a few months ago, and then the same dude, not the same actor, but what's that guy's name? I mean, it's the culminating fight of this one. I'm not into boxing, obviously.
Mayweather. Are you talking about Mayweather?
No, no, the Hands of Stone guy.
Oh, you're talking about the
The very last,
actor?
no, the very last fight. What's that guy's?
I don't
I
know.
think
I
it
didn't
starts
see
with
Hands of Stone.
a D. That's like the boxer's nickname or something. Maybe I'll find it, but it was cool to see Hands of Stone, which was his, his coming of age and his underdog story, and then to see this one and to follow his story, and then to see them both come head to head for that final fight in this movie. That was fun. Overall, I didn't walk away loving it. I was underwhelmed. What did you think?
I basically kind of agree with you. I thought this was fine. It was an overall serviceable boxing film. However, it didn't bring anything new that I hadn't seen to the boxing genre at all. And kind of like you said, just with movies like Southpaw and Creed, I saw both those. And this didn't do anything that those didn't do, and that, in my opinion, that Creed didn't do better. I wasn't particularly a huge fan of Southpaw, but there's a couple really cool things about this movie. One thing I really liked was in the last fight scene, how kind of sound was used in that scene, and the way they edited that scene turned it out to be really, really cool. And just the last thing I want to say as well about it is I thought Aaron Eckhart also just completely stole the show. Every time he was on the screen, I enjoyed the movie probably 20% more.
Awesome. I looked it up. The last fight is him against Duran. So Duran's nickname was
That's
Hands of
right,
Stone.
Duran. Yeah.
So like I said, that was cool to see both of those stories come together. I'm gonna go ahead and score this a 5 out of 10.
Oh,
Not is very generic for me. I didn't like it. The acting was good, but I'm done with boxing movies right now. It just it was the same formula we've always seen. I walked away thinking I could have done more with my time.
this movie, I guess the reason why I gave this movie a 7 out of 10 is because this movie has the most unintentionally funny scene of the year, which involves a man in a halo going to a strip club. That's all I'll say. Go see it to find out more, people.
Awesome.
Unless that doesn't sound interesting to you, then don't go see Bleed for this. But let's get into our next movie, which is actually Edge of 17, which stars Haley Steinfeld. And I'm going to go ahead and read the plot summary on IMDb. It says, high school life gets even more unbearable for Nadine when her best friend Krista starts dating her older brother. OMG. Ryan, what did you think of Edge of 17?
I really liked it. We were talking just a little bit beforehand. I had mentioned the trailer. If you haven't seen this movie yet and you want to go see it, don't look up the trailer. I feel like there were some things that were really funny in the movie, but they were also in the trailer, and that's what got me to watch the movie. So just take our word. I'm assuming he's on the same side as me. Go watch this movie. It's a great coming of age movie. One of the best comedies that we've had this year, I'd say. It was really good, heartfelt, funny. I really enjoyed it. I like Haley Steinfeld from True Grit. That's what kind of put her on my radar. And then she was in Was that the
Exactly.
pitch? What was that?
I just said exactly.
Oh,
I haven't seen her in anything.
she was in True Grit. She was in Pitch Perfect 2, which wasn't really a good movie, but she was good in it. And then she was in one more recently that I liked her in. So she was really good in this. Look out for her. Um, it was fun. Woody Harrelson just keeps picking good projects. He's phenomenal. He's hilarious in this movie. So if for nothing else, go see it for him.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So surprised. I was telling Ryan, I saw the poster for this. It was like, oh boy, just another teen comedy. There's that spoof movie that came out a while ago, the Not Another Teen Movie. And it's like you just roll your eyes when you see some of these. But every now and then something comes around that's like Juno, or I think of The Spectacular Now just a couple years ago. And I really think Edge of 17 stands shoulder to shoulder with those movies, which who'd have thunk it, to be completely honest with you. But this was reminiscent almost of like John Hughes movies, but for the modern age, which is super, super cool, especially if you're, you know, a millennial, one of those damn millennial kids, then it's super good to have a movie that kind of speaks to you. I found this movie extremely relatable. I don't know what that says for me or myself. It's like, oh boy, I'm that like awkward person. Oh no. But I really, really related to this main character of Nadine. And I feel like most people probably will relate with this character of Nadine in some ways. She's such an endearing character, and I really got caught up caring about her story. And oh my goodness, this movie made me LOL to keep up all the stupid emoji jokes. But yeah, I wanted to make a specific note of mentioning Woody Harrelson as well, who just completely was amazing in this movie. He's so funny in this. Like sometimes I don't really enjoy the character that he plays, that he's playing here, but here he does it so well. And it's like so honest. Like I remember being in high school and having a teacher who, you know, I could go and eat lunch in his classroom and kind of just talk to him and say, you know what, Mr. Palmer, this is kind of bullshit that this happens. And he just kind of listened to me about all of that stuff. And I really kind of miss that. And this movie just completely nails the way that teenagers talk, which is super, super cool. And it shows how like awkward some of these situation encounters are. And man, I just really wound up enjoying this movie a lot.
I wanted to just say that one of my favorite parts, without spoiling anything, it takes place on a Ferris wheel. And I just laughed so hard during that scene. I thought it was spot on. And that I can relate to that crap. So look forward to that.
Yep.
So let's score it. I'm gonna give it a 8.5. And I've been up and down. Like I said, I wanted to even go higher than an 8.5 for this movie. I really loved it. I felt like it had lost some of the charm and some of the funny moments that were spoiled in the trailer. And I feel like if I hadn't seen that, I would have loved this so much more. But that being said, it's not one of those movies that you watch it once and then it's not funny anymore. I'm gonna go back and I may or may not see it again in the theater, but it's definitely one that I'm gonna buy and that I'm gonna watch again and again. Especially, I mean, I'll hide this. Perks of Being a Wallflower is in my top 5 movies of all time, and it's close. It's in a different vein, and it's not as good in my opinion as Perks of Being a Wallflower, but a coming of age comedy done well is always a gem. So what would you rate this one?
You know, I'm actually go pretty high with this. This is one of the biggest surprises I've seen in 16. I'd give this movie a 9 out of 10. I went and saw this with a date, and we both actually wound up really, really enjoying it. We both related to it a ton. And it was like actually like just a perfect date movie. It was really, really like spoke well to kind of like the nerdy kid in all of us, I suppose. And yeah, just would overall recommend this.
Awesome. Let's get into the final movie that we're here to talk about today. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the prequel to the Harry Potter films. And I'm going to give you a synopsis and kind of a rundown of this. And then I want to open it up and start the conversation talking about our thoughts on the Harry Potter franchise in general. And then we'll kind of narrow it down to Fantastic Beasts specifically. So Fantastic Beasts takes place about 70 years before Harry's born and goes to Hogwarts and all of that beloved franchise of my youth. It follows Newt Scamander, a recently expelled student of Hogwarts who gets a job at the Ministry of Magic and then goes out to start writing one of the books that is taught at Hogwarts, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is basically a compilation of notes and facts and useful little hints on how to take care of magical creatures. So this movie, which is kicking off a new franchise for Harry Potter and Warner Brothers, follows Newt and his journeys through New York as he's got some beasts in his suitcase, and it's the fun adventures that then come from that. So to start us off, Spencer, give me some of your thoughts on Harry Potter and the Harry Potter franchise in general.
So look, guys, I'm gonna be kind of like the one hater in the group. It's not that I dislike Harry Potter. Look, most people have probably clicked away by now, but Harry Potter's a good franchise that I can see lots of positives to. It's just something that I never personally loved. I always found something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings just way more interesting to me. My family were huge Harry Potter fans. All my sisters and my mom both loved Harry Potter, and growing up, we went and saw the movies. It's not that I didn't enjoy them, and it's not that I didn't like them. It's just they were never something that I really, really looked forward to. But what did you think about them?
You know, you hear older critics and older, just the next generation, the generation before us, you hear them talk a lot about Star Wars. And Star Wars did an awesome thing of being a 3-generation franchise. And people always are talking about the accomplishments, and at least all the critics that I specifically listen to, they always harken back to that being one of their favorite experiences in the theater, and that's what they grew up with. That's what Harry Potter was for me. I remember going to the first one, and I had read it. I was in 3rd grade, and I remember I had my dad make me a wand, and he taught me how to make wands, and we'd go out and we'd sell them, and I'd dress up, and I went to all of them, and I loved the whole franchise. I read all the books, and so I was really excited looking forward to this. I was nervous at the same time because, like I likened it to Star Wars, we had the beloved 4, 5, and 6, and then they went for the prequel. Everyone was so excited. We get the prequels, and the prequels suck. I was so nervous that they were going to do that to this franchise that I love.
And kind of The Hobbit, too. Some
Right.
people would argue that they ruined The Hobbit with the Hobbit franchise. So, yeah, this movie had a lot going against it, people.
I was really looking forward to it, but at the same time, with those experiences, I was so hesitant to get into it. That being said, I went into this movie and I really liked it. I feel like maybe for me personally, it's not, if I had to rank it, I'd probably say it's in the middle. It's not as bad as some of the bad Harry Potters, and it's not as good as some of the good Harry Potters. I'd probably rank it in the middle. I really loved it, and I felt like the humor that went along with this was really on point and worked a lot better than the Harry Potter humor did. And I really appreciated in this film that they kind of assumed that you've seen Harry Potter before, because they don't hit you over the head with connections, but they also don't take the time to set up the whole world and say, well, you can do this or you can do this, and this is what apparition is. And they didn't explain all that stuff because they didn't need to, and I really appreciated that. There were a few moments in it, story-wise, without giving anything away or spoilers or anything like that, where there was some dialogue being exchanged, and in the moment, I thought it was pure exposition, and they name drop Albus Dumbledore. And I was like, oh, come on. You're just saying that just to connect the universes. but later on down the line, they ended up like wrapping it together, and it made a lot more sense to me, that whole scene, and it paid off and it all worked for me. So I really enjoyed this movie. What did you think, Spencer?
Well, Ryan, I think you'll find that this movie is pretty fantastic. So I actually really wound up enjoying this movie, especially after everything I said about Harry Potter. Be surprised, people, because this movie is so much fun. Like it, my goodness, I just had such a good time watching this movie. I think that Newt Scamander is probably one of my favorite characters of 2016. He and basically the reason why this character works so well is because of Eddie Redmayne. Eddie Redmayne in this movie is so good. Like every single moment that he was on screen, I was having fun. And the good thing is that's the majority of the movie. And I really just enjoyed watching this guy, like doing basically everything he did in the movie, and kind of seeing how he cares about these beasts as well. I think added a lot to his character and his vulnerability. And really, actually, this movie wound up like doubling me over with emotion in the third act. Like, holy cow, the character development and just like little things they do with these characters, like throughout the first and second act, really pays off in the third act. And kind of like there's a particular thing with one of the characters, the No-Maj character, which is kind of like the American way of saying muggle, I guess, in this movie. Like a scene with him in particular, just, my goodness, really, really well done. I thought there were some minor complaints about this movie from me, however, such as in the middle, this movie kind of starts to sag just a little bit. I think the pacing kind of slows down a little bit, does pick up again in the third act when they have to go back to capture the beasts. And that's the parts of the movie that I probably enjoyed the most, was watching these characters go on kind of like this rambunctious adventure. It felt like really, really like the most fun parts I had in Harry Potter. And the last kind of thing I have to say is I feel like the whole entire storyline with Credence, I feel like things towards the end of that storyline kind of didn't work for me, but then they did, without getting into spoilers. And I know that sounds really weird if you haven't seen the movie, or even if you have seen the movie, maybe, but kind of like the final scene with him really worked for me, but the scene right before that did not. That's all I can really say about it.
Let me kind of build off of that and pose a question, because all being said, my biggest letdown of this movie was that it kind of felt like they were trying to make two separate movies and combined it into one. I felt like they were trying to make a Fantastic Beasts movie, but they were also trying to make the starter movie for the next franchise, for the next 4 films. And it felt like they never really found a mesh. They were two separate things where they could have just gone for one and it really would have paid off.
You know, I totally agree with what you just said, but I feel like they did that. They set up another movie, but then they ended that movie, this movie. And it was like, guys, like, what are you doing? But then they do actually kind of give you something that does set up the next movie. And this is really without getting into spoilers, but something huge, if you've seen it, huge is revealed to the audience, and it really sets up kind of like the villain of the story and all that, I guess I can say. And I really, really dug that and had no clue that any of that was coming at all. So super cool.
Building off of that a little bit too, this may go into spoiler territory, so I will throw that alert out there, though I'm going to try to avoid it still. What do you think the next one's going to be called? Are they going to call it Fantastic Beasts 2? Because I don't see it being much about beasts, you know?
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean.
For anyone who has a Twitter, you probably could put that together. I mean, Twitter's been blowing up the last week about that. So I don't. Well, let's score it from there. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a 7.75. Like I said, I really liked it. I felt like it was kind of a two-story thing that probably would have been a lot stronger if they had picked one instead of having so many sub-stories, like you had said with Credence's character. But I loved it. It brought me back to that world, and it pulled off the thing that it needed to, which was it made me feel like I was in the Harry Potter world again. Um, it was wonderful. So 7.75.
Yeah, I wound up liking this more than the Harry Potter fan, I guess. I give this an 8.5 out of 10. Kind of, you know what was weird about this movie, Ryan, is that at the beginning of it, when the Harry Potter like music came on, it said Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in the Harry Potter logo. I did get a little bit of nostalgia because my mom actually used to take me and my sisters out of school to go and see the Harry Potter movies. So when that came up, like I was just like, I'm not getting emotional, Emma. Like, what the heck? Like, it was crazy. Like, I was just like, because when Star Wars Episode 7 came out last year and the opening crawl happened, I cried, guys. I cried. I'm not even gonna lie about it for 1 second. I flat out just cried when it happened. I was like, my childhood is back on screen, on the big screen. And then, like, by the end of the movie, yeah, I was just like a mess of tears by the end of Star Wars 7 because I was like, I'd finally seen a good Star Wars movie on the big screen. And man, Fantastic Beasts, I feel like this could become a franchise that I maybe like about as much as Star Wars, not quite as much, but about.
No,
That's super cool.
I 100% agree with you on all of that. I'm very interested to see where it goes, to say the least, because like we said, they did set it up in a different way, at least than I was expecting. I could kind of gather some directions they were going to go. But I can't see them doing anything wrong with this franchise from here forward, because this is Warner Brothers' only like cash grab. Of course, they were going to make it because the DC universe has sucked. What else do they have that is for sure money for them? So, I mean, they've got enough people. I think that they're going to at least keep it on a good direction, and they're not going to let people down. They've got J.K. Rowling back on board, so I don't see this going in a bad direction. That being said, who knows, the next one could suck. But regardless, it made $75 million over the last 3 days. We're going to see the whole franchise.
There will be a next one, people.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. Go ahead and tweet it out, share it on Facebook, all those good things. These last, Edge of 17, Fantastic Beasts, they're just another one on top of a fantastic month that we've had. So for the sake of the movies alone, share these, these episodes out, let your friends see them so that they know some good movies that are coming out, as well as it would help us out a lot. And go ahead and tell us what you think in the comments. I'm Ryan Gordon. I'm a Cinemaholic. You can follow me on Twitter. I tweet cool things, and Instagram at Rye_Gordon. What about you, Spencer?
Spencer Henderson. You can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHind. And Ryan, what are we going to be talking about this Wednesday?
Oh, who even knows? Let's see. We've got Moana coming out. We've got Allied coming out. Rules Don't Apply. We didn't talk about if we were going to review that one, but it looks all right. I don't know. I'm going to try and grab Nocturnal Animals. We may go see The Handmaiden. Let me just tell you, the next 4 days are going to be full of movies for us, so prepare yourself. We're going to have another awesome episode coming up. What day do you want to do it?
Well, Wednesday is going to be when we are talking about at least Moana and Allied. I know that, so expect those two at least on Wednesday. We will tweet out or Instagram out or whatever out the times. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is Cinemaholic Productions, and see you next time.